there, fellow nerds, geeks, artists, alley evangelists, and supporters of independent creators. I'm Aaron Nabus, and on behalf of my co-host, Alex Benedicto, thank you for tuning in to the Hall 8 Show podcast. Black Comics Day 2018, an event organized by Keithan Jones, brought together black comic book creators from around the United States for a special one-day comic convention that took place on Saturday, February 17, 2018 at the Malcolm X Library in San Diego, California. This event coincided with the opening weekend of the Black Panther movie and Black History Month and highlighted the importance of black comic book creators. One of the creators, writer Greg Anderson-Elysée, and the creator of the comic book is Nana, the Were-Spider, traveled all the way from New York and was in San Diego for the first time. So we just had to get him on the podcast before he flew back, which we recorded at the library just as it was starting to close. It was great to meet this independent creator and star on the rise, and we look forward to connecting with him in the near future. In celebration of Black History Month 2018, Greg has a 25% off special for Is Nana, the Were-Spider, volume number 1, which will end on February 28th, 2018. So if you're interested, and I know you are, please email him at isnanamail@gmail.com. That's ISNANAMAIL@gmail.com. We hope you enjoy our conversation with Greg, and don't forget to support black creators and other people of color because representation does matter. Hey everybody, welcome to the Hall 8 Show podcast. We are at Black Comics Day 2018, and we just wrapped it up. Actually, we managed to find a willing guest for our podcast. He comes all the way from New York, and he's the creator of the comic book Is Nana, the Were-Spider. His name is Greg Anderson-Elysée. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you, first of all. And like I said, you're from New York, and how did you come by all the way from New York to San Diego?
So this is my first time entirely in the West Coast. I've always wanted to come by here, and I've been doing the Black indie comic scene for the past maybe 2 years now. I published this book about 3 years ago. It's been doing very well, and the thing is, I feel like my reach has been mostly like New York. I've gone to Detroit, I've gone to Chicago, I haven't gone to the West Coast. Mm-hmm. And that's been my thing, is of trying to get as many eyes, as many states as I can. So when Keithan Jones, who, moderated this whole event, he hit me up asking if, I'm doing a convention here in San Diego, would you like to come through? First thing is I have no idea if I could even make it. I was looking at the ticket prices from New York over there. It's expensive as hell. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to find any way I can to try to come here. And I had a good dear friend who just came out of nowhere. It's like my birthday was last month, and he was just like, "I got your ticket." And I was like, "What?
Really? You want to give a shout out to him right
now? Dana Holmes, you're the man. Thanks a lot, brother. I'm here hustling my ass off, and it's been a great event. Couldn't do it without you, so thank you."
Nice. As you mentioned, Keithan, the event organizer. Keithan's also the owner of Kid Comics, the comic book publisher, and he's also a creator of his own comic book, The Power Knights. And you met him at MechaCon in Detroit, correct?
Yep, MechaCon Detroit, run by this front woman, mad woman. She's just always hustling. Maya Crown Williams. And she's amazing. We met there. We hung out. We had dinner with a whole group of us. And Keithan is great. I think he's a great creator also. What he's doing with Kid Comics is great. Mm-hmm. He has a great roster with him, Chris Ward. That Dragonfly book just looks amazing. Mm-hmm. Purge. And he's definitely one of the high-ups I feel a lot of people need to check up on, especially when they're looking for a lot of black indie books.
Most definitely, which is appropriate for the the convention we just had today.
Yeah. And this was a huge success, especially for our first convention. Mm-hmm. This was amazing.
Why do you think a convention like this is important?
I mean, it's important. A lot of us, we grew up wanting to see representation, of our characters, of our race, our backgrounds, gender, orientation, no matter what it is, we want to be represented, and we are so used to the white, straight male being the heroes to the point where we don't even question it. It's like such a default. And I grew up, like everyone, loving X-Men, loving Spider-Man, Batman. And it meant so much to me when Bishop came on X-Men. Right. And it was just like, he was this angry black man, but at the same time, I'm like, yes, dude, do what you got to do. And that just opened up my eyes, And as I got older, it was like I would see certain characters like Black Panther and Luke Cage. I'm thinking, these guys look awful. Like, who the hell are these characters? Or even Brother Voodoo. But as I got older, really thinking about like what they represented and the fact of like when you would get black creators actually working on the characters, they were very nuanced, And the thing is, everyone is always looking for someone that they could relate to. And there's this whole mentality that black characters are inferior and black indie books are inferior. And so I want to like prove that wrong. And I feel like events like this showcase that everyone is looking for that representation. And we're not all a monolith. We're all different from each other. We all have different interests. We have different art styles. We have different stories to tell. And when it comes to the quote-unquote default white male, they have all these different types of stories that can be told about them, and not one represents them. A lot of people feel like, for example, Cyborg in the Justice League. Cyborg represents all the black people now, And I feel like with events like this, it showcases that no, not this one black person represents all of us. You can get 5 different storylines, 5 different adventures, 5 different backgrounds, everything, to showcase that we all come from different backgrounds too, where we're just as diverse as the quote-unquote default.
Those are all good points. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, so my book is Nana the Were-Spider. It's based off of the stories of Anansi from West African and Caribbean folktales, and my character is his son. It's a father and son story, them working together to stop these creatures of horrors and causing chaos in the world while trying not to drive each other crazy at the same time. So you have a classic father and son family tension stuff right there. And my gateway, I'm trying to use this as a gateway to introduce people to more black mythological gods. Right. Because I grew up on Greek mythology. I love Greek mythology. I taught myself it whenever I had a class in school and we were like being tested on it. I was just always raising my hand.
Do you have a favorite Greek myth?
I love the story of Theseus.
Okay. Yeah.
Theseus and the whole labyrinth. I love Jason and the Argonauts because it was just like the original Avengers was Jason and the Argonauts. But that's the thing. I grew up on Greek mythology, and we had to learn about like the European fairy tales too, which is cool. I love them. But I didn't know any of the black gods or any of the black deities or the black heroes. At most, you get taught John Henry. And that's for like one day. And so as I got older, I started to learn more about these characters on my own. And that was my thing. I felt like a lot of people didn't really know these characters. And when I would ask people, for example, oh, do you know about Anansi the Spider? Especially black people. I was always distraught when they would say, who is that? But I'm like, oh, but you know Zeus and Hercules, right? And everyone knows them. And so... and is Nana supposed to represent his legacy of continuing on to the next generation. So I want to bring these stories back, get people knowing who Anansi is, and which it has been happening. People have been reading the book, and Anansi and American Gods came out this last year, and that blew up. And so what the story is, I'm introducing people to characters from African mythology, Caribbean folklore, and African American stories to showcase that in all these different black cultures, we have so many different heroes and deities and gods that we can draw stories from too.
And I noticed there's other people on the cover here. Do you want to talk about them?
Yeah, sure. So Walter Osley, he's my artist for the first volume. Amazing. I love his work so much. He has a book called Shiverbuer, and when I put an ad out, he was one of the many people who, submitted their stuff, and he has this amazing style where it's very dynamic, it's in your face, it's fun, and it reminds you of how fun comics can be, and at the same time, he doesn't lose any of like the horror elements of it, and so also he's a great guy to work with. He's very fun. And that was one of my things. I want to work with someone who's fun. And Lee Maluski came in for the colors. Walter introduced me to him, and he's been doing a kick-ass job. Joshua Kozine, he's actually one of the people of Stranger Comics. He's doing the lettering.
We know the guys from there.
Yeah, I love Joshua. And actually, I have a different artist for Volume 2, Daryl Toe. And Walter's doing the backup for that. I didn't want to let him go, regardless.
And how did you find your start as a writer?
One more thing. I do want to shout out to Walt Msamzabana, who does the cover. The cover everyone who's in love with. They see it and they automatically want to know who it is.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's from Zimbabwe. Want to give a shout out to him too. He's one of my favorite members of the team.
Did you use DeviantArt, or how did you?
Yeah, I looked in DeviantArt, penciljack.com, digital webbing or webbing. I can't remember the site. digitalwebbing.com. There's a lot of different comic sites and forums you can go to with artists putting their work out. I pay all my creators that's involved with drawing the pages for me. So if you're a writer and you want to get very good professional artists, you want to make sure that you have some money saved up, because it's going to cost you.
Definitely. Why don't we go into a little bit of your origin story?
Cool. So I'm from New York, born and raised New York. My family's from Haiti. I've been wanting to write since the first grade. Like, that's been my ultimate dream since I was younger. I used to draw in like these picture books, and like I used to make little picture books and give it off to family and friends. I wish I kept some of them, just to see how much I improved. But just like now, they used to emphasize like family. Stuff like that. I used to have like a family of like a cat who hooked up with a dog, and they had like cats and dogs. But yeah, that's been my thing. I got into filmmaking in high school. I've been focusing on mostly teaching film than I do doing films, but when I can, I try to do any type of projects I can. But writing has just been my ultimate goal, you know, and I feel like I'm very glad I got to accomplish that. I made a goal for myself. I said, I need to publish my first book by the time I'm 30, and I'll be damned if I don't publish my first book by the time I'm 30.
Right.
And I turned 30 this year, and and I'm working on the second volume. So,
well, congratulations!
Thank you.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the second volume, or is that still on the wraps?
No, it's cool. The second volume is supposed to come out hopefully by the middle of the year. The reason why that's a little delayed right now is because Walter is drawing the backup story. We got a couple of more money from the Kickstarter, and so we're using some of that to do a crossover story. So it's that with different creators from the indie world, like Keith Cross from Day Black, Micheline Hess from Malice in Ovenland. I have Shauna Grant with her, what's her name? Princess Love Pond. Bardock the Wanderer from Mike Preby, and Walter Ossie, his world, also Shiva Burer. I might be missing someone. I apologize if I am. But Chuck Collins from Bounce. So we're doing like a crossover story where Nana is actually going into their world, and they're being drawn by those creators, having their characters interact with my character.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so that's like the side story. That's what we're waiting to finish. But the main story is after Nana defeats Osibo the Leopard in Volume 1, he's going after the next person, the next creatures that are causing trouble. And it's Queen Mbara from the original Anansi stories. And she has an army of like werebees, hornets, and wasps who like banded together to take over our world. So Nana has to now stop that whole army, you know, along with some side characters who are helping out.
I was about to say, hopefully he has some help.
He has a bit of help. He's doing most of the heavy lifting, but there are some. Anansi is once again with him. This time there's some issues with them, father and son. You know, as Anansi is coming back into the world, as Nana is growing up and realizing that like he's from a different universe, pretty much, where these mythological characters exist. So coming now to Earth, he's getting a bit more depressed because he's away from home, and he hates fighting, and he feels responsible to stop all these creatures. And so
sort of a reluctant hero.
He's the reluctant hero.
Yeah.
But Anansi is also, he's very concerned about him. And so there's that tension between them where it's like your kid is growing and you need to like reel back a little bit. But Iznana also needs to realize like he cannot continue jumping into fights, even though he doesn't want to, but he feels like this is my duty. And so there's like a tension between them, and then there's another family, a black family, that's also involved in the story. You know, so it's a jam-packed. Volume 2 is pretty jam-packed.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading the first one here.
I hope you enjoy it.
I'm sure I will. You mentioned some of the characters. Are there any other characters you want to sort of go over really quick before we go on?
I mean, Iznana, you know, he's the main character. His backstory, essentially, he's actually a spider who turns into a boy. And he's from the Mother Kingdom, which is where Anansi comes from. And in the original story, Anansi was this trickster god, you know, of stories. He was always pulling tricks on people, on different characters. And in my story, he gets kidnapped, and Iznana comes looking for him. And in doing that, he accidentally breaks these barriers from different dimensions that causes all these horrific creatures to come to cause chaos. And that's why he feels he's responsible to stop them.
Okay.
So yeah, there's him. There's Osibo the leopard from the original Anansi mythology. And you'll be seeing characters like Papa Legba from the Haitian folklore, Haitian religion, coming into the second volume. And you'll be getting a whole bunch of different mythological characters that they're going to be interacting with that I want to introduce people to.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We have a round here called the Thunder Round. It's sort of like our off the beaten path set of questions.
Snap. I'm scared now.
We'll go to Alex for that. Alex?
Okay. See, first question. If we give you $1 million, what would you do with it? And you had to spend it all in one day.
Okay. What I would do, the very first thing I would do is give a good chunk of it to my mom. Even though my mom and we've been having some tension here and there, butting heads, but she's been holding me down forever. And the reason I'm into like fantasy stories and horror stories is because of her. And so definitely helping her out with financial support, helping out my close friends, family. I would definitely be getting my own workout, and I want to do some type of huge thing for like getting a lot more black work out there, like black work, films, stuff like that. So a lot of stuff for the community. I wish I could be as selfish, but my thing is always about helping people.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a similar question. If we give you $100, what would you do with it?
That goes straight into my bank account for the next volume.
All right. Let's see. Next one. Here's a cool one. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and where would you have dinner at?
Damn, I don't even know how to answer that. I really don't know how to answer that. This is just off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever really thought about this, but probably try to have dinner with Toussaint Louverture, who, you know, started the Haitian Revolution, just to like pick his brains back then and try to, you know, he's just this awesome, underrated black revolutionary leader, you know. I feel like more people are starting to learn more about him as they're getting more conscious about black culture and black history, and we need a film on him. You know, we've had a French film, but not an American film, and Danny Glover has been trying to get that started for like, since I feel like 15 years now. But definitely, yeah, I'd love to. That's something that would be pretty cool, having dinner with Toussaint. That would be cool.
Where restaurant would you pick?
We're gonna go to Haiti. You know, it'd be like, you know, but that way also he can see, because it's not as great, you know, as we would like the country to be. It's just been awful.
It's gone through a lot.
Yeah, gone through a lot. So, but there's still a lot of proud, rich people there. You know, people who are just proud to be Haitian, and I feel like that would be something interesting to see like what he fought for, see what happened, the positives and the negatives to it, and what we can hopefully do. Maybe we can inspire people, you know, to rise up again.
Have you been back?
I haven't been there for a long time. I was born here, but my family, the house that we lived in burned down, And so my mom sent me back there, over there to that way she could reestablish herself, and my grandmother took care of me while I was down there. And so my first memory is me being in Haiti. And I came back here for school, and I've been back maybe 2 or 3 times since then, but I haven't been back for a long, long time. I've been wanting to go back. My dad goes back there on a regular, but every time he tells me, "Oh, next week I'm going to Haiti. You want to come?" I'm just like, I'm working. Like, like, dude, come on, pops.
All right. Okay, you're leading the trip to Mars. What 4 people would you bring with you? SpaceX.
Oh my God. Damn, that's crazy. I'd bring my significant other, for sure. Don't want to be lonely there. I have no idea. Maybe my brother, who's like my best friend. If you can get out of his Ivy League studies, force him out of there. And I don't know, someone that'll keep me sane. I don't know who.
Comedian.
Okay. Yes, that would be awesome. Maybe one of you guys. I'll probably take Alex or Eric or Aaron with me.
Cool. All right. If you could teleport to anywhere in the world right now, where would you go, and why did you pick that place?
I guess Haiti.
Haiti.
Yeah, because I haven't gone back in a long time. I want to help out in some way. And yeah, I feel like I have a calling almost to there. I haven't been there for so long. I feel like my heart pulls me there when I think about it.
Cool. All right, let's see. If you could be a sidekick for a superhero or villain, who would it be?
Okay. I mean, aside from my character, it's not I'd like to roll with him. I have a huge love for Brother Voodoo from the Marvel comic books. I feel like he's an underrated character. If not him, then maybe Black Manta.
Black Manta.
Yeah,
That's cool.
He's
Legion of Doom.
Yeah, he's such a badass, and even though he's a villain, and it's funny because he's like so pro-black at the same time, and it's funny. I would start Facebook fights with people because I think there's at one point I put down a whole bunch of positives about the character, how pro-black he is, and I was like, I don't know, I don't see him as a villain to me. That's not a villain. And I think people assume that he didn't know who Black Manta, that he was an Aquaman villain.
Right.
And I was just like, he's a hero. And so that caused this huge thing on my Facebook page. And the whole time I was just like, I don't know what y'all talking about. He is a hero to me, and he's ruthless. He's not someone in real life I would be yeah, I'm behind him. But as a character, he's like the black version of Magneto. It's you understand what he's doing, and he's always there for his
perspective,
people.
how you see things.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Last question. If you were president, what kind of artwork would you hang on the Oval Office?
Wow. I would definitely put a lot more mixed media artwork. Cool. I feel like stuff from maybe Wangachi Mutu would be dope. Dave McKean type of art, John Jennings, Stacey Robinson. I love the mixed media thing, and I feel like I like abstract, I like surrealism, so that would be the type of artwork that I would put. I feel like there's not enough love in the mainstream when it comes to them. I feel like they are popular, but good luck trying to find a mainstream comic book with those type of artwork, but those tend to be, once I see that type of art, I gravitate towards, and I want to try to pick and piece them. I like using my brains for abstract surrealism, mixed media type of stuff.
Cool. We have another round called superhero shoutouts. If there's any other creatives out there you want to sort of give props to, and I'll give you a chance to do that right now.
My God, dude, you put me on the spot. And then you're going to have mad people in the community dude, how come you didn't mention me? Keithan Jones, I'll give a shout out to. We already talked about him with Kid Comix. Marcel Dupree, his work has been, he's a madman. He was here today also. with his evolution comic books. I'm doing a story for him called The Gentleman. Jason Reeves, who does One Nation. Ray Anthony Height, who was also here, who's also fantastic with Midnight Tiger, and he's starting to, work for like Marvel. His work is just amazing, amazing work. Stacey Robinson, I love his work also. John Jennings, Micheline Hess. Like I can go through a list of people. Keith Cross. It's just Chuck Collins. I'm not gonna stop, honestly. So
that's a pretty good list right there. What's in the future for you? I know you got Volume 2 coming out.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to tell our audience about?
So I got Volume 2 coming out. I'm also working on, as I said, Gentleman, which is a horror noir book for Evolution Comics that Marcel Dupree is coming out. And it's about a detective. Well, he's a private eye. He used to be this part of this wrestling agency where people use superpowers to fight. And but my side of the story is coming up after he's sort of retired from that. And so he wants to just settle down. And so he's doing like a private eye thing, and he's being forced into using his abilities. And his abilities sort of, you find out that they're connected to this Lovecraftian type of world where his heart is sort of like the key to that world. If he keeps using his powers, it opens up more and more to that portal. So you find out some backstories to that, and it gets very trippy, extremely trippy. One Nation, I'm working on a book called Stronghold for One Nation for Jason Reeves.
Oh, nice.
His character is this albino guy from Louisiana who's sort of dealing with his sexuality as a gay man while, also being a Christian and being the superhero at the same time and having a very homophobic celebrity type family, like background. And so that's been a lot of fun to write. I need to finish that. And I'm going to be in Puerto Rico's Strong anthology that's coming out soon.
Oh, wow.
That Dennis Solero is actually drawing, which I'm hyped because I've been a Dennis Solero fan for like maybe 10 years now. So it's more than 10 years. So the fact that he's drawing my book, my story, I'm like, whoa, it's awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I guess one thing I still want to, ask you about is, like, from a, our podcast specializes in independent creators. Now, since this event for Black Comics Day is, not only about independent creators, but also through the lens of being Black, is there something that you can maybe tell our audience about your experience and how it's been in the past and how you feel about the future of it, if, you feel that things are starting to improve or,
Yeah, I do think they're starting to improve. As I said earlier, everyone is looking for representation. And one thing I've been noticing as more and more of these comic events are coming out, the Black comic events, more and more people are showing up. Before, it used to be like you'll get a small crowd. But now it's become like a bit of a movement. It's like almost like a Black comic renaissance in some way. And it's always interesting because you have all these people that's always saying, oh, diversity doesn't work. Diversity is making the sales go down. But it's like, not really, But it's also how you market.
Sure.
It's also how you market. It's also how do you get that diversity that you want to get, Because when you're constantly catering and pandering to like the straight white male, that's all you're going to get. And they, once in a while, they'll maybe check out Black Panther, but they're going to say, I don't really relate to them, even though us people of color have been relating to those characters forever. And I think it's coming to a point where a lot of Black people are starting to get a bit more conscious about, I guess, trying to understand their history and their culture. And in doing that, that's helping with like understanding more about Black pop culture even, and looking for gods and heroes that we can look up to. And they want their kids to learn more about those type of characters too, that we don't always have to look for the same old Batman, Superman, even though I love them. I'll watch the hell out of those movies and shows, but there's other sides of us too, And I think it's a great movement. It's happening. We saw a huge success today in this Black Comics Day. And I feel like the more events that are showing up in all these different types of states, showcasing that we've always been here, and all we need is really eyes and support. That way we can keep on going to just prove wrong that all these people saying that our work is inferior and that we cannot stand up, that we can actually do it. And we need that support from the fans also.
Sure. Well, we'll help out as much as we can.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think we may be the last people at the library. We're at the Malcolm X Library here in San Diego, California, where Black Comics Day 2018 was, and I think we may be the last people because they close at 6. There's probably like 5 or 10 minutes left, so we better start wrapping up. Alex, do you got any other questions?
Let's see. I don't think that's about it. Or do you have any other independent creators that you want to give it a shout out to?
Still
also?
put me on the spot, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like, okay, what's maybe like what's one like essential work or book out there that you think our audience should check out?
Yeah.
Damn. You still put me on the spot. One of the last books that I really pushed out was probably Prince of Cats by Ron Wimberly. I think he originally published it as a Vertigo book, and now it's Image. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's based off of the story of Tybalt from Romeo and Juliet, except it's done with like a hip hop graffiti style. And you would think, hip hop graffiti, and it's sort of like watching the Warriors, but it's written. The dialogue is literally written in like Shakespearean dialogue, and he does such a great job where it literally reads as if it is Shakespeare.
Check that out, man.
So definitely check that out. Keith Cross's Day Black also is one of my all-time favorites, and also how he mixes with his style. Like, it's very surreal and abstract at the same time. Yeah.
Cool. Where's the best place for people to find you online?
So I am on Facebook. I am always posted on Facebook. I'm practically addicted. How I find time to do work, I don't know. You can find me at Greg Anderson-Elysée, Elysee. You'll find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, Greg and Elysée. I'm on Instagram also at Greg DAE. And yeah, that's it for the most part. Also, when are you planning on posting this?
We could probably post it. We're gonna do a wrap up podcast with Keithan.
Okay.
Probably in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I'm doing a February Black History Month sale. So like people, if they would like to contact me, I can I'll give you like 25% off of the book. But if anything, you can get it off of Amazon.com. You'll be able to get the printed run. You can go to Comixology or Peepgape Comics to get a digital version for half off of that. Yeah. So
tell you what, since you have a special going on for February, we'll do this. We'll do this episode next. How's
all right.
that?
Oh, sounds good. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other shows or cons you're doing?
Yeah. So. Damn, I would have to pull out my list. I'm trying to get to Detroit also for MechaCon. Okay. I just finished the Schaumburg a couple of weeks ago, the Black Expo last week. I want to do ECBAC also. I've never been to the ECBAC show in Philly. I'm doing I'm going to DC next month for BSAM in Howard University. I have a show, I have a talk going on next month, Boston. Oh my God, I have listed down Kids Comic Con in the Bronx. I have a whole.
No, is this your full-time gig?
No, it is not my full-time gig. I want it to be. That'd be amazing. No, my full-time gig. I'm a teaching artist. I teach filmmaking, elementary to high school.
Okay,
that's been my main source of income, and I am trying to do at least two shows a month as like a side, and I can make money cranking out because I feel like that's what I want my career to be.
Cool.
And it makes me happy and keeps me stable financially also.
Yeah, if you can do what you love, and be financially set,
yeah,
that's like the best. That's cool.
For real. Yeah.
We're all trying to get there.
A struggling artist, right?
That's right. Well, Greg, thank you very much for taking the time to be on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. Honored.
Yeah, I look forward to connecting with you again.
Thank you,
Oh, yeah,
for sure,
definitely.
man.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Signing off from Black Comics Day 2018. Peace, cheers. Talk to you later, and artists assemble. Thanks again for listening to this episode, and please make sure to check out our guest, Greg Anderson-Elysée's comic book is Nana the Were-Spider, especially since Volume 2 will be coming out soon. Did you know, aside from iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn, the Holiday Show is also on Spotify, so there is no excuse to not be a subscriber to our show. In fact, do a Google search for The Voice of Independent Creators. Peace, cheers, and artists assemble.